Howdy, Legendary Void here, and today we have a new WaveX video for y'all. But before we begin, we do have quite a few things to go over. The first thing is, as always, don't forget to check out the Transformers TCG custom cards page where I post all of my cards. You can print out the images from there, download them from the page, and of course, see them all before I make the videos there, so make sure you check that out. Link will be in the description. And the second big announcement is going to be that I have started my Patreon page. So if any of you guys are interested in supporting me, you can go check that out. Of course, the link will be in the description below. And again, it's not at all necessary. It's just something that I would really appreciate if you really wanted to help support the set. So starting off, we're going to go with the character that got voted on the poll, I believe, like a week or two ago, but it was Wreck-Gar, which he is a mercenary. I decided to go the mercenary route with him, but he's a 5/13/2, and when this does enough attack damage to KO an enemy, use this card's bounty ability, so the typical bounty thing in his bot mode. He is melee, so he does, whatever few things melee characters do. But whenever he KOs a character, you get to attach an upgrade from your opponent's scrap pile to this character. So it's kind of a contrast to Nightbirds. In that Nightbird, you get to play an action. Wreck-Gar, you get an upgrade, so it's pretty nice. You get to just, take an upgrade. And, sometimes it might be useful, sometimes not, but of course, that's just that's kind of up to the luck of the draw, I suppose, depending on what's in your opponent's scrap pile. Sometimes there might not be any at all, but that's just the risk you run by trying to run Wreck-Gar, I suppose. But in his alt mode, he's a motorcycle melee, and yes, this is an actually good motorcycle. I hope you guys enjoy it. But he's a 6/13/1. In typical mercenary fashion, they are weaker defensively in their alt modes, so I went ahead and just decided to keep going along with that. But before the game begins, you get to put a junk cannon from your deck onto this, which that's a really interesting thing. You just put more upgrades on this and he gets more attack. And then each time your opponent plays an upgrade from their hand, your opponent chooses one of their characters and does the damage to it. So essentially, if you were to play both Wreck-Gar and Nightbird on a single team, you're punishing them for a lot of damage for every single card that they play, and they're not gonna be very happy about it. But I think that's a really interesting way to go about it if you really want to. And heck, if you really wanted to, you can use your other 8 stars as like a brave character, say Sunstreaker, the one that I made. If you want to check that out, that's in another video that I'll link down below. But yeah, very interesting character. Motorcycles are going to be playable with this guy. And yeah, I do have a few motorcycle cards that I will be revealing in the future. But again, I need to make sure I do testing on them before, showing them off. Next up are a few new battle cards. There's going to be the first one, which is Apex Armor, and this one's literally just an inverse Ion Blaster of Alchemist Prime. It's an orange pip in contrast to the blue, and instead of giving +2 attack and 1 defense, it's +1 attack and 2 defense. And the only caveat to this one is that it can only be put on characters with Prime. So Optimus Prime, Rodimus Prime, Nemesis Prime, which is something interesting. I kind of realized after I decided that, but I was okay with it, so I decided to keep it since it's orange. Nemesis is mostly played in blue. You can be played in orange, but again, I don't know if this is going to make that big of a difference if you're playing in orange, as it's just going to get bashing shielded off anyway. But, it's an interesting armor. Throw it in your decks that you're playing a lot of primes in, so makes sense to try and at least do like an inverse version. Next is Intimidation, which is a white-black pip action, and you get to choose one of your characters with 18 stars or more, and that character gets +3 attack and Pierce 3 until end of turn when attacking a character with less stars in it. So it's basically like a third, like heavy-handed and bigger they are. This one has a white pip and a black pip, so of course it promotes the black pip mentality, as well as also making those 18-star characters feel a little bit more special. Next up is Time Off. Now, I believe this is actually the very first battle card I made in the set. You'll notice that the text and the font on the actual name of the card is a little bit off compared to everything else, but I kind of want to just leave it that way. It's a little memento to myself, I suppose, knowing where I started. But it's a blue pip card, and you repair 1 damage from one of your characters. If that character had taken 10 or more damage, you may repair another from it and draw a card. So essentially, if that character had a toolbox, you're repairing 2, and you repair another 2 and draw a card. So it's a very, very strong card for anything with a lot of health. So basically, you'll repair 4 from him, he'll get the +4 attack, and you get to draw an extra card. So it's a pretty strong card in healing decks. Otherwise, it's kind of just it heals. Certainly heals. Might be played in Shockwave. He's got a lot of health, so he might be able to abuse it a little bit, but I feel like you could fit better stuff in that spot. Again, it's mostly just to support those healing decks that like this sort of thing. Next up is unorthodox upgrades. Now this is one that I'm really proud of. It's basically a white pip weapon that has +3 attack and +1 defense. So you might be thinking, oh, that's really strong. I mean, heck, Erratic Lightning gives you +3 attack and -1 defense, so why is this different? Well, the actual effect on the card is that the upgraded character has -2 health. You know, you're losing health, but you get a huge buff in stats in its stead. So if you wanted to do that, you can definitely do that, because a lot of characters with a lot of low health are going to die in one hit anyway. This sort of thing will just make them much stronger for a lot less price. Say something like Micromasters. High Jump has 6 health, brings it down to 4, but now he's like a 6/4 1 or 2 depending on his mode, I think. But that makes him pretty strong and definitely good as a 4-cost character. And the last one we're going to talk about today is Sharkticons. Now this is an idea I've seen done multiple times, and you know, many people have done it many different ways, but mine is actually very fascinating because it all kind of stems from the stratagem, which is Quintusone Army. You may have more than one Sharkticon Quintusone minion on your team, and once per game when you flip Sharkticon minion, Quintusone minion to alt mode, you get to draw 2 cards and you flip the stratagem. So, of course, it's not a very strong flip effect for the Sharkticons, at least at first glance, but once you read the alt mode ability, which again, it's a lot of reading, but once you read it, you see why drawing cards is kind of essential for them. But it's a 5/12/1, and the effects on this card change depending on how many Sharkticons you had at the start of the game. So obviously you can have at least 3 since he's an 8 cost. And if you had just one, you flip, when you flip to his alt mode, you scrap a card from your hand to repair 1 damage from it. When you flip to his alt mode, when you have 2 Sharkticons, you can scrap a card to repair 1 damage from one of your Sharkticons, so it can be either one in play. And then if you have 3 or more, when you flip to this mode, you can scrap a card from your hand to repair 1 from one of your Sharkticons, and then you get to draw a card if you have 2 or less cards in your hand. So basically, he does a lot of healing whenever he flips to his alt mode. The original idea for this card was actually just once per turn. You put an armor from one of your characters from your scrap pile to one of your characters. Then I realized how badly you could just abuse force fields with that, and immediately took it off. And then it changed to repairing 1 damage from each of your Sharkticons, and again, that seemed way too strong. So now it's kind of slowly moved to repair 1 from one of your Sharks, and then draw a card so you continue to do it with your other characters should you play, say, like Rollout. And then in his bot mode, he stays a Quintus on melee, and he's a 4/12/2, so his stats kind of balance out, but the effects on the card change depending on how many you have on the battlefield, so that's a little bit different from the alt mode side, because on that side, it's for each character you had at the beginning of the game. This changes throughout the course of the game, so if you just have one, being the one character you have, it's just bold 1. If you have 2 Sharkticons on the battlefield, you have bold 1 for each in bot mode. And then if you have 3 or more, this is bold 1 for each Sharkticon in bot mode and focus 1 for each Sharkticon in alt mode. So basically you can prime your flips if it's the first one you're flipping for the game. So for example, if you have all 3 Sharks, you flip this one to bot mode, and then you attack with bold 1, focus 2. And you can just prime your flips for a massive hit on your first turn. Not massive, but it'll be a pretty big hit on whoever you're attacking. So pretty nice set of cards there. And of course, it nerfs itself as the game progresses, as it'll continually die. You'll lose the ability to get focus, and you'll lose the bold on each character as you continue on. So, because obviously, right, the less Sharkticons there are, the easier you're going to be able to deal with them, right? So it kind of makes sense in a lore standpoint. And the last card we're revealing today is Quintusone Incursion, which is an orange action that says choose one of your Quintusones. When it attacks this turn, you may choose to either give it +2 attack until the end of turn, or draw 2 cards. So of course the draw 2 cards works towards them healing themselves and having to scrap cards to do it. And then the +2 attack is just because if it was +3, then that makes it equal to a leap in the battle, and since it's a choice, you kind of have to nerf that. But the drawing 2 cards I don't really see as too much of a big issue, even if it is equal to another card pep talk. So, alright, and this comes to the last little bit of the video where we get to announce who all you get to vote on for the next poll. So it's going to be Hardhead, the Military Patrol, which is something that I added on off screen on the Facebook page. And the last one that we're going to be adding on today is Decepticon Scourge. So the one that's underneath Cyclonus, I believe, in the hierarchy. So it's Galvatron, Cyclonus, and then Scourge, I believe, which is the leader of the sweeps. I'm not doing any sweeps because I don't like the art that I found for him, so I just decided to just strictly do Scourge. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, don't forget to check out the Facebook page and my Patreon down in the description below. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Peace.